Welcome to Introduction to Civil Procedure. First, what is civil procedure? Well, it's the anatomy of a lawsuit. It's essentially how you move through a case, from when you decide to sue someone and file the claim and choose the venue, to the appeals, the actual trial, the judgment, and everything in between. First, we're going to talk about personal jurisdiction. We will discuss when a court has the power to exercise jurisdiction over particular parties to a lawsuit. Personal jurisdiction focuses on the person. Then we will talk about subject matter jurisdiction. We will discuss when a federal court has constitutional and statutory authority to deal with the subject matter or substance of a lawsuit. This includes diversity jurisdiction, federal questions, supplemental, and removal. Remember, subject matter jurisdiction deals with the case, not the person. We will talk about the complaint and answer, and the way in which a lawsuit begins, the filing of a complaint. In addition, we will address any of the defendant's pre-answer motions, the waiver of certain defenses, and the defendant's answer. We will talk about service of process, which is the requirements of due process when a lawsuit begins, meaning how you notify someone they're being sued. We're going to discuss pleadings. Pleadings are basically appeals to the court, not appealing from a judgment, but appeals in the layperson's definition of appeal, meaning they're the things you file with the court. Your complaint, your answer, those are pleadings. And we're going to discuss about things that take place before discovery, the pretrial motions and pleadings. We're going to discuss things like the procedure for a pleading, who may file, and when. We're going to talk about reasons why a lawsuit might fail, the defenses that a defendant may bring up, for instance, failure to state a claim. We're going to talk about steps involved in a default judgment, which is when the defendant doesn't show up. We're going to talk about amended pleadings. What are they? How do you amend them? Who can amend them and when? And what things might restrict these amendments? We're going to talk about sanctions. Various ways that attorneys might be disciplined for doing things like filing frivolous lawsuits. We're going to talk about issue and claim preclusion, which is when entire lawsuits or issues in a lawsuit might be barred from being tried due to the fact that they've been litigated before. Essentially, if you sue your neighbor over a fence dispute and lose, you can't keep suing your neighbor, but that's going to be talked about in more depth. We're going to talk about joinder, the process of joining parties and claims together. Courts love judicial efficiency, so we're going to talk about who must be joined and who may be joined, what claims must be joined, and what claims can be joined. We're going to talk about discovery, which is essentially evidence gathering. Any trial needs evidence. You need the information, you need physical evidence that you present, you need witnesses, and the way we get to this is through discovery. So we're going to talk about the ways that we can discover things, the methods that attorneys have, and we're also going to talk about what is discoverable versus what isn't discoverable. We're going to talk about venue, which is the physical location. Subject matter jurisdiction is whether it's a federal court or state court matter, but even if we're in federal court, we have to decide the exact venue, the location. We're going to talk about Eerie. Eerie is a complicated doctrine that focuses on when we apply state law in federal court, or do we apply federal court? So, for example, if you're in federal court but you have a state law claim, say you're in federal court through diversity action, we have to determine, do we apply state or federal law? Last, we're going to talk about summary judgment. It's the concept in which the judge decides there's no issue of fact, meaning no one's disputing a fact. Everyone agrees on the facts, so we just have to decide the law, and that becomes a summary judgment. That is your introduction to civil procedure.